I want to welcome everybody to the Rising Phoenix Business Community call today. My name is Sandy Corrigan, and I am with
Tom Corrigan
and the famous, infamous, you're muted.
Muted, Chuck Blakeman.
Technology is your friend.
Yes, it is.
But first, I want to interrupt this regularly scheduled broadcast to bring you an update from our friend Jim Martini. Jim, you want to take a bow right now? Is he on? Where's Jim? Is he on? Is he on? Is he on? He's not on yet. All right. Well, he brought us all these light moments today. He keeps sending me these memes, and so we need things to laugh at. Here we go. Here's one. The Italians have been preparing for this COVID stuff for years. Notice the supplies they lay in: meat and booze. There is no toilet paper. Meat and booze. They've been doing they're experienced. They know how to do this. It's awesome. And then if you want to know how to actually go to a restaurant these days, this is a way to do this. The Irish actually have a very specialized need here for just something that they can suck through a straw, because that's basically all they do when they go to pubs. They just suck stuff through the straws. So this is the new Irish restaurant mask. And then this is a great one. Marty, whatever happened, don't ever go to 2020. I love
That's
it.
a good one.
That's a good one. And then I've got to finish with, let's see if I can find this. This is just too adorable. So I've got to stop. I got to finish with this. This will go through. Yeah, here we go. This has nothing to do with COVID-19. But holy cow, is this adorable. This dog has figured out how to have fun during sheltering in place. I mean, tell me dogs can't have fun. This is a dog. I don't know how many times this thing went back. Obviously, this is a repeat, but you get the idea. This dog went right back up for more. It's just too cool. So we ought to be taking the attitude of this dog right now. Let's figure out how to have fun with the slides in our lives. That's me.
I love that there's a dog at the top just kind of watching it all. Is that not like a metaphor for people right now? Who's having fun?
That's right. Like, are you kidding me? What's wrong with this guy? So
When our dog gets bored, all of a sudden she remembers she's got a tail. Built-in fun.
Yeah, right there.
So we are excited about what we're going to do today together. And first, we're going to have something inspirational and visionary actually from Tom. And then we've got a couple of really cool, inspiring stories from Tom Fanning and Mike Button this morning. And then we'll move. Oh, and then we have a new opportunity to connect with one another. So you're going to get to be in a Zoom room with a small group of people, connecting and building some community. And then we have our bottleneck segment. So already be thinking about if you have an issue, a challenge, or an opportunity that you can engage the wisdom of crowds in this community to help you break through and move through and find some good, crazy, and fun and awesome solutions today. And then Chuck, speaking of relentless, like the puppy, is going to give us a word on how we can be relentless right now and what it takes to be relentless and have grit. And then also be thinking as you go through the call today, what are your ahas? What are we call them BFOs, blinding flashes of the obvious, things that maybe you forgot or new ideas, things you want to implement. And then we'll end up with a quick reminder on how to apply what we've learned and also how to really live in community. And we want to take a minute for those of you who are joining us for the first time. Welcome, and we named this Rising Phoenix because this is a time where, just like that mythical bird, we are settling into the nest to willingly burn things up that have to go, or unwillingly sometimes, but just things that have to go so that we can emerge better, stronger, more loving, more productive, more of everything that we can be during this time. And so that's what we're going to look forward to today. So Tom, you want to tell us a story?
I do. I know many of you were in business 10, 12 years ago, just like us. We had a large real estate team. We're part owners of a real estate company. And we had primarily luxury level listings, which in the Denver area was $500,000 and up.
Now it's like 750 or $1 million.
In 2008, And then all of a sudden the bubble happened, and our business came to a grinding halt. And we thought, okay, well, we can endure this for a month or two. And then it dragged on, no showings, no money available, no nothing. And we had to start laying people off. And we started running up debt to the point where we were about $90,000 in debt. We hadn't drawn any money out of the company at that point in 4 or 5 months, and then had to lay off our single parent daughter, who was our admin. It was the worst day of my life. And we were really struggling. So what we did was we just worked harder. We didn't work smarter. We just worked more and more hours and drove ourselves into a frenzy.
We didn't make any more money.
No, we didn't. We didn't make a nickel more during that time. But we were relentless in all the wrong ways. Chuck's going to tell us a little more productive way to be relentless, and Tom Fanning's all about that as well. Anyways, long story short, we got introduced to Chuck in 3 to 5 clubs, and we joined up. And this isn't, well, I guess maybe it is a plug, because it's had such an incredible impact on our lives for the last 12 years. We all of a sudden saw the need for being in greater community, outside eyes, having a strategic plan, and looking at our business not as something we serve, but something we could use to serve us. And through the rest of 2009, we had our best year ever in real estate. And we shifted and started focusing on people who had to short sell their house, which nobody really wanted to do. But we just found out all of our training up to that point, and being coaching and counseling and learning how to listen, is that we were able to sit at the table with people as they were losing their homes and help them through that process. We did 50 or 60 short sales along with other regular real estate in the next couple of years, and just came out with an understanding that we could actually see the market coming upon us and learning how to shift into it.
One of the things that I think was so valuable is, of course, we were in the industry, so we had all of that, community and training, but it was really the aspect of outside eyes, of people that didn't really know much about our industry, that week after week, when we did bottlenecks, would give us ideas that we hadn't thought about, or other people in our industry hadn't, asked us to consider. And so it was really helpful to be in community with people that were not afraid to ask what we might think are dumb questions, because they weren't at all, to help us think differently and come to different solutions.
So what we found out during that time was relentless doesn't mean just work harder. It has a whole different meaning if it's applied correctly. I'm going to hand it over to Chuck.
Thanks, Tom. All right, let's, before I forget here today, I wanted to ask you guys to participate. If you have favorite physical distancing relief memes, or pics, or graphs, or dogs sliding down slides, send them to us. We'll put them on the show. We'd love to have these, because the whole point of this Monday morning thing is to get us started to our week that's encouraging, that's enjoyable, that gets us in the right frame of mind to go forward in the week. Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk about being relentless. Why being relentless? First, I'm going to talk about words that aren't relentless, but they're good words, and they're words we use a lot. But I think relentless to me is a much more important word in my life. There's a lot of words in life that we think are kind of relentless like, but they're actually reactive words. They're words that we use when we face things in our lives in the normal course of life. So we're just tilling the field, we're just working our work, and we run into these things, or they actually come find us. That's really the whole point of reactive words, is these things come and find us. Perseverance is really not about moving forward. It's about sort of like the wind is coming at you, and you just keep persevering. You continue in the face of difficulty, even if there's little prospect of success. These are actually dictionary definitions. I'm not sure I want to just persevere. Perseverance to me is a reactive word, and it seems to be something that would make me tired. Grit, courage and resolve, strength of character, stand up to difficulty. Again, this is the idea of bad things coming at you that you have to react to. It's good to have grit. It's good to be persevering, because bad things are going to come at you. But these are not the things that make us successful. Pluck, spirit and determined courage. Spirited and determined courage, again, in the face of difficulties. Courage, strength in the face of pain or grief, all good things. But these are not the things that are going to really push us forward. And then resilience, the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. Again, these are all dictionary definitions. You can see these are all reactive things. They're good. We want to persevere. We want grit. We want pluck. We want courage. We want resilience. But these are things that are just us standing our ground and not getting moved off of what we want to do. We need more than that in a world like today. So we want proactive words. We want to remove things in our way as we push forward. So instead of just in the normal course of life hanging out and not being pushed around, we're looking forward to actually moving forward and changing the way we're doing things and getting where we need to go. In order to do that, you're going to run into things. You're going to cause your own trouble. Here, the trouble comes and finds you. When you're being successful, you actually cause the trouble. And you cause it in a way that helps you. So being relentless, the dictionary definition, oppressively constant, persistent, incessant. This is us moving at something, being oppressively constant, persistent, and incessant, getting after something. Persistence is continually firm, obstinate. Despite difficulty or opposition, you keep going forward. And incessant, continuing without pause, interruption, ceaseless. You're going to continue moving. And then ceaseless, constant and unending. These are things that move us forward. So I just want us to be thinking about that this week. What are we doing to move forward in our lives? What are we doing to actually push forward? Let's be relentless. Let's not just be resilient. Resilient is bouncing back. And I think Tom's going to come on today, and he mentioned a little bit about resilience should be bouncing forward. Well, that's what relentlessness is let's get in there and bounce forward. So why push forward? The old idea of, we've talked about this in the past, not on this show, but the second planet principle. If there was only 2 planets in the universe, and you lived on one of them, and you wanted to get to the second one, you get on a rocket, and you shoot off. And if you run out of energy and fuel and motion 1 inch before you get to the middle, let's say that they're 1 light year apart, and you run out of motion 1 inch before you get to the middle, guess where you're going to end up? Right back where you started. Gravity will eventually suck you back in. There's only 2 sources of gravity in the whole universe, and it's going to suck you back in. If you get past that, the gravity of the second thing is going to move you toward the second thing. And the whole idea behind this is that we need to be running towards something, not running away from something. When you're running away from being an alcoholic, you're much more likely to be an alcoholic. When you're running away from COVID-19, or you're running away from what used to be and the way your business was, and you're running scared. You're running away from survival is a form of running away, and having to get through the next month is a form of running away. What are we running toward that would actually motivate us? It's much more, there's so much science on the need to run towards something and get after it that way. There was research from a heart attack, from heart attacks in 25 or 30 years ago. They were trying to scare people straight, showing them greasy hearts and bad livers and all kinds of bad stuff. And about 10% of the people who went through those programs changed their lives. Then one doctor decided, I'm just going to show people a great life. I'm going to show them being able to enjoy their grandkids' graduations and living long, healthy lives and that kind of stuff. 80+% of the people changed their lifestyle because now they're running towards something. Instead of running away from bad habits, bad diet, bad exercise, they're running toward a great life, and that just motivates them to do all the other stuff. So that's going to be the message today is, what are we running toward? Let's run towards something. And I want to bring on Tom Fanning here because Tom's a great example. I've watched, Tom's a good friend of mine, and watched his life evolve over the last 10 years plus. So Tom, show your face. Where are you?
Right here.
All right. Yep. Gotcha.
Okay, good.
So welcome. So I want you to share your story. You've got this funny, this company with a funny name, Boomza. And I'd love for you to just be as transparent as you can about where this started and what you were thinking and how it has developed, because it was such a small, narrow, interesting, but small vision to begin with that had nothing to do with where you are today. Do you remember all that?
Actually, I do. I'm making some journal notes again this morning to kind of.
This was like 2010.
Yeah, right in there. And so it was again, at the beginning was the idea that for all the professional experience that I might have had at the time, there had to be another way to do business. And so I've always been drawn to the whole conversation around values and what does a company stand for and so on and so forth. So did go ahead and even as my professional past had been a lot involved in real estate and resort real estate and commercial real estate and so on. Didn't know that exactly was where we were going to be going. But at the beginning, I knew that there was a set of values we wanted to stand for. So at the top of that list was the word trust, which has been sort of a handmaiden for me through all these years because of all the different twists and turns and obstacles in the road, et cetera. But the set of values has continued to be there, which I suspected it would, and still is. So that combined with the focus on community and connection, that somewhere in our lives that was something that we all want and all certainly desire and as part of our social fabric. And I didn't know exactly where that was going to go. So Chuck, if you remember, the first round of that was, well, let's have this be an online type platform. And we created a website that we thought that might, operate on some themes around community and connection and values and things like that. And then discover how we might, ultimately monetize it, make money, et cetera. And that didn't, over a period of early years, get a lot of traction, or no traction, maybe in my view, to where then I was listening for a possibility for community as well in real estate. And that seemed to get more traction even at the time here in Colorado. Uh-huh. And then, as it turns out now, as we'll share in this conversation, is down all the way the other side of this country. But I knew that the themes again were steadfast, were pretty timeless, and even the word boomza was its own expression of term that I just wanted to kind of insert into existing conversations that people would kind of turn their head and go, "Wait, what are you doing? What is that?" And boom and za is really boom as a point of impact, and za is really from Swahili, means to give birth or bear fruit. So it had some energy to it. It actually has found its way not only in our narratives and so on, but now it's in the form of contracts and boomza community holdings and all these other things in terms of how it's morphed. But through this time, we did set our sails on the idea of having sort of really vibrant, vital, maybe upscale, but certainly with a component of affordable housing as well. And maybe we could just sort of have a composite within the actual real estate space to where we have these boomza residence communities. And so we searched around in Denver region for a while. And out of my own learning, having not developed anything, I'd been in hospitality for a number of years. And so I'm certainly familiar with operating, learned a lot, continue to learn a lot, and discovered that as the path continued, there was a desire to do that here in this state, and based on my own profession.
We lost you there for a second. We got you back. Based on your own professional what?
Here, okay. My own professional connections is that we would find our way down into Southwest Florida. And while I'd been there professionally 20 years ago, I didn't know if there was a there. And so I found myself within the last 3 years of getting down there, even after we had attempted to do the right thing here in Colorado, it just wasn't tracking the way that we expected. And so I said, great, not going to force anything, not looking to convince anybody. If somebody raises their hand and says, this sounds like a good idea, let's go there. Well, lo and behold, over the last couple of years, we have found our way to inform a much larger version of what I originally envisioned. To Chuck's comment, I thought maybe smaller scale. Maybe we do a little bit here, a little bit there. And as Chuck will pull up here in a second, is some of the renderings of the only a phase one, as it turns out, for what we're envisioning there. And in the context of obstacles, and in this case, COVID, et cetera, we actually went under contract on this site on Valentine's Day.
Can you guys see this? Is this up, Tom?
Yeah, it's up. I see it. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And so the point of all that is again, this is just how we've sort of followed the path to say, this is wanted, this is needed. It still is, tied to the set of core values we've had. it still is the same sense of operating. It still is being received as a part of the larger, in this case, Fort Myers community, to where it actually can serve not just our residents, not just our staff as it will happen, but the larger Fort Myers community in this part of the country. So, yeah, horse and stable experience, you bet, Tom. So it's that kind of thing, and contained even within this building is a set of affordable housing units that I've had a background in theater, and so I thought, well, maybe we have sort of an artful presence, in an affordable way, so artists can live there, they can have their galleries there, combined with our residents. So, still think that the concept, as it turns out, is still pretty unique, and yet in terms of finding myself in this place at this time in this way, totally intended, and I guess, yes, relentless as the word, but not as Tom Corrigan and Sandy described earlier, not about, nose to the grindstone, any of that. There's as much inner work as there is outer work going on to this thing. I still get to do my trail runs. I still get to do my yoga. I still get to do the things that keep all this stuff in balance, and really, though, honor the process and not get ahead of ourselves. And now our financing on this, we think we might see a term sheet pretty soon. The numbers all look pretty good, of which I've become more familiar. So it's been that type of a process, and in the context of the big why regarding Crankset and 3 to 5 Club, how long should any of this take? I don't know, but at some level, it's like there's a timeless value to this that I think now perhaps is reflected even more so with what we're finding ourselves in 2020 than ever before.
So, Tom,
okay.
Sorry, I just wanted to interject
fine.
in kind of buttoning this up and going full circle. When we first talked and you first shared your vision for Boom Za 10 years ago, like you said at the beginning, it had nothing to do with this kind of thing.
No.
It wasn't anywhere like this. But what you did was you followed the rainbow, you followed the stream, you followed the path of not necessarily least resistance, but most attraction and what seemed to make sense. And you just were relentless so that this thing emerged. I mean, you talk about a rising phoenix. This is a great example of it. This will be possibly the largest real estate development project in the history of Fort Myers when you guys are done.
One of, you bet.
Yeah, it's certainly one of, and this is not at all where you started. So I just wanted people to get a feel for that and to understand how success happens. In his book, Ernest Hemingway, in his book, The Sun Also Rises, there's two characters, and they're talking. One guy says, "So Tom, tell me, or Bob, how'd you go bankrupt?" And Bob says, "Well, 2 ways: gradually, then suddenly." And I was thinking about that. I said, well, that's exactly how success happens. So, Tom, how'd you get to where you got this huge Fort Myers project going? Well, 2 ways: gradually, then suddenly. And nobody ever sees the gradually. Nobody ever sees the 8 years that happened, 7 or 8 years that happened before this thing began to emerge. And that's the way we have to do this. This is relentlessness on steroids. So love it, Tom. Thank you so much for this.
Happy to share. And again, that word trust has been right front and center for me throughout the whole process. So
yeah, beautiful. Thanks so much, my friend.
It's been really fun to watch who you've become in this process, Tom, because I sat down with you 10 years ago about this. So it's just been really fun to watch the development of who you are in why you do and what you do and how you do it. So thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Appreciate it.
Let me introduce to you my friend, Mike Button. He's the owner of Mike Button Drywalling. And you go, oh, drywalling. But Mike is not just a great technician and functional drywaller. He's an artist. And he's probably one of the few people in the state who can go in and fix a 100-year-old drywalled wall in a century-old home and match it. He's also got other great. I just found out what a master leather man he is as well. He gave me a gift, and thank you again for that. But Mike, if I was going to describe you, I'd say Mike is a relentless learner. Mike told me he's owned the drywall business for 50 years, and recently took a real interest in 3 to 5 Club. So Mike, anyways, Talk to us about what's happened with your business here in the last few months because of the lockdown and the pandemic, and how you've responded.
Well, first of all, thank you guys, and thanks for the plug of the leatherwork. But before the virus started, my wife and I wanted to change how I went about doing the drywall with employees, builders, just the general way business was done. And I was in such a rut and such a habit of all these years of going to work every morning, thinking I had to be a hands-on, eyes-on, kick the guys around if they didn't know what they were doing. I mean, if they didn't do what they were supposed to do, or they were careless or not relentless in what they were doing. But I wanted to not go in every morning to, leave at 5:30, 5:45 to beat traffic. And I wanted to start using technology to monitor the guys, FaceTime, not be such a hands-on guy, but I just couldn't do it. And then the virus came, and my wife and I needed, we're in the group that needed to be sequestered at home to be safe. And my age is my reason, and her reason is a little bit different, but she still needed to be. And so that caused us to get out of the habit of going to work every morning, using technology, training guys different, just kind of opened up a procedure to do this. And we got growing pains to do with this too. And I've got two kind of phases of my company, and that's new construction with the guys that do new work. And then we've got the repair side of it that is a lot more involved, and it takes more expertise tying walls in different materials to come together. They're dissimilar a lot of times with these old houses, and it takes some expertise, but there's not many people that'll do that right there. So we're working on that, and we've got growing pains. My wife and I are working together at it, and I still fall into the habit of having to go to work and not thinking ahead. And you got to think 2 or 3 days a week ahead to line these things up with the help that's available to me, and then train these guys and get on I want to get on a bonus program for them. That's what I call it. Could be an incentive program too, but give them a real incentive to step up and be the A team. These guys can be trained to be on the A team as far as the remodel goes.
So Mike, you've had to learn some new disciplines and behavior. I mean, so what you shared with me earlier is that you were afraid that if you didn't show up, things weren't going to go well, and that the foremen and construction owners, the homeowners, were going to be upset because you weren't there. How's that gone, making that shift?
It's gone very well. I haven't got a list of the jobs that we've done, 4 or 5 jobs that I haven't even seen the jobs. I haven't met the owner. Each one of them has given us a check, and they haven't seen me. And I've got a reputation, and and all the work I do is word of mouth. So I feel obligated to be there, meet them. Why are you using me? This is the reason. And find out I don't have to be, but I've been forced into that, and it's working quite well. And so I wanted to do it voluntarily, but the virus made me do it, forced me into it. I probably wouldn't still be doing it, but it's working.
No, you're the only one on this audience who's faced that.
Yeah.
I'm unique, aren't I?
Yeah, you're unique, just like everybody else here.
Well, I've
been really enthralled to watch you. I mean, you've been in business for 50 years, so you're somewhere between 52 and older. But you chose to be a learner and make a huge shift. And that's a big challenge to those who are on this show who are younger than you, thinking, well, this is the way we always do things. And we do until we don't, right?
Right.
Your testimony to that. So, hey, thanks so much for sharing with us. You're an inspiration. And would you make sure that you put your contact information on here? Because I think there's probably other people on the show who are thinking, gosh, maybe this guy could fix my wall.
Yeah. I wanted to say too, I've learned a term through all this, and it's copability. So that's my new word of the day, is copability. So,
I love it.
and if I'm going to fall, I want to fall forward.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you.
So Chuck, we want to give people a chance to create some deeper connection and community. So you have a question, I understand, and then we're going to actually put you randomly in rooms of 6 people or so, and you'll get about 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes to be able to discuss the question.
Yeah. So take a look at your chat box. It's a 3-part question. You can answer any one of these, and you're going to need to answer pretty quickly, because we're going to have 5 minutes for basically 5 people, or 6 minutes for 5 people. And I just want to talk about what does it mean to be relentless? So we talked about pushing forward. And the idea behind this is that there's the research, this is research stuff. The number one indicator of success in an early stage business is speed of execution. Get moving. And then the other indicators of success in business, according to the research of about 600 well-established entrepreneurs, is that they need to adjust or adapt quickly, and then keep moving. Don't give up. Stand, be the last person standing. Those 3 things: get moving, adapt quickly, and keep moving. Those are the things that you need to do to be successful. So what I'd love to do is we're going to break up. Megan's going to break us up into groups of I think 4 or 5, and you'll end up with whoever you end up with, and of course whatever group you're in will be the best one in the group. And you've got 5 minutes to go after this question. Which one of these do you need to apply this week? Is there something you need to get moving on? Is there something you need to adapt quickly to? Or is there something you need to sort of recommit to and keep moving on? Which one of those 3 are you going to declare for yourself this week? Let's get a good start on that. So Megan's going to toss us into a chat rooms, and then you'll have a 1-minute notice when it's time to come out. You'll get 1 minute before everybody's forced back into the main room here, and then we'll get a chance to talk about those a little bit. Okay, so Megan, go ahead and toss us into to those rooms, and we'll see who we end up with. This is potluck, and isn't it exciting? Here we go. See you in the breakouts.
And
How much fun was that? Look at us. We're all forced back in.
We were just talking about conation for a second in our breakout group, and it seemed like it touched on our responses to all three of those questions.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'd love to get time to share through these things, but maybe we'll have time afterwards. Let's make sure we get a bottleneck in first. And if we get a bottleneck in and we still have time, then I'd love to hear from each group. But why don't we go straight to bottlenecks? Our group was a great time as well. We're all dying to share what we had, but let's see if we can find ourselves a bottleneck here. Who has one of their many? When we first started sharing this, we would say, who has a bottleneck? And then we realized that was really not the appropriate version of that. The real question is, who would like to share one of the many bottlenecks they have? Because we all have bottlenecks.
Chuck, as people are thinking, I want to do a quick follow-up because I did a bottleneck last week.
Okay.
On harnessing the power of fear through horses. I have my first client. I have my first speaking engagement. Woo! And I continued working on the book. So thank you guys for your input, because it was very motivating and accountable to actually go public on this stuff and have people help push me forward. So
wow, that's awesome.
Hi.
Very cool. Very well done. All right. So yeah, the bottleneck isn't always something that's bad. Like that's why we call them bottlenecks. That's sort of a neutral word. A bottleneck can be, hey, I've got a great opportunity that's kind of holding me back. How do I deal with this new thing that I'm thinking about? And so an opportunity or an obstacle, who would like to share one of the opportunities or obstacles they have that would that we could brainstorm on together?
especially something you're stuck in and maybe like you don't have a place to say, I don't know how to do this. Like this is a place where we get the help of people to help us get unstuck to move forward more powerfully. So who's gonna harness their fear and be courageous today?
I did it once, I'll do it again.
Go for it, Mike.
Yeah, you bet.
We're having to explore and find new ways of people sending us money, whether it's a check through the mail, it's a bank deposit, wire money, whatever. And I would like to know if anybody has any different new ideas on how to simplify. I mean, we get it, but I didn't know with the new business like we got Karen and I have some lofty goals in this new portion that we're doing, and we'd like to simplify the paying process and also paying the employees and collecting money from the customers.
Without being able to see them face to face?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So now we get 2 minutes to ask Mike clarifying questions before we
Peter,
get.
Peter asked, what is your business? And so just real quickly.
My business is the drywall subcontractor. And
Drywall subcontractor, okay? And you want ways for people to be able to pay you without actually picking up a check.
yes. So we don't have to meet them face to face. If I never see them go to the job, how best can they send me the money? Make it easy for them.
Mike, what accounting system are you using right now?
Karen Button.
How much are the transactions for? Are they $500? Are they 50,000?
Yeah, they vary. They could be probably nothing smaller than 500, but once in a while we'll get a 7,000, 10,005, something like that.
So they're commonly 1,000 to 5,000 kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good.
And are the clients all predominantly residential?
Yes. Well.
Okay.
Yeah, basically yes.
Okay.
Well, can I ask you?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Chuck.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Can I just ask Mike, when you get paid, is it a prepayment or is it after the job is completed?
Two sides of it. Sometimes it's progress payments. I still got to get a check, or I have to get them to wire or transfer money into my account. And the other side of it is completion after completion, and they're satisfied. They just give me a check.
And is there a trust factor? Is that part of the challenge?
No.
Right.
And
No, not yet.
Cindy asked, do all of your employees and customers have smartphones, cell phones?
Yes.
Okay. And then do you take credit cards or avoid them because of the processing charge?
We've never discussed that, actually, Karen and I. She does credit cards before in her business, in her art business. So that's something we could do, and maybe we should explore that more again, with the Square or whatever.
Sure.
And
then
do you have issues with threshold limits, like Chuck was asking before, in terms of things that are high ticket, in terms of the things you have in place? Do you have obstacles with that?
well, he wouldn't know that because he's never used it.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
okay,
right,
so, okay, got it. All right, so now we've got 3 minutes to provide some ideas and suggestions.
Yeah, and Bud Crafterly, he thought he was asking a question, but he's really giving a solution. It's a great one. Do you have access to Venmo? So you do have access to Venmo. Venmo is an app that people can pay for goods and services. So you can try Venmo. And then Peter Percept put in here housecallpro.com. Click on that. There's an opportunity there to use things. PayPal is a great situation for that kind of stuff. And then we use Diane, you can pipe in here on the chat room as well, ACS payments, where we just do transfers. ACH is the ACH payments, yeah. And so you just do a transfer from one bank account to another. And there's sometimes fees for that. Zello.
Ellie.
Zelle.
Zelly. Zelle. Okay. Zelle is
The
another.
other thing is, because there's fees with all of these, Mike, if people pay in cash, like in a certain time, you could offer them like a small discount that you would be paying anyway in some other app or something. Pass it on to the client.
Yeah, that's great. That's
I
one of
like-
our bottlenecks too, is having the fee to transfer money. And
I like-
sometimes
I
like
think
this
sometimes the
comment.
customer,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, sometimes the customer pays it, but most of the time I'm willing to pay it. But
Yeah, and Paul
mostly
has a-
ease and, go ahead, Chuck, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to get through these because we don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
But
Okay.
Paul has a great comment on Zelle. He says it can send an invoice, and without having an account, customers can input their card number or their ACH info, and it goes right through PayPal to do a one-time transaction. So Zelle can create that, and maybe PayPal as well. They don't even have to have an account. You just send them an invoice, and they input their stuff. That's a great solution to this, all digital. QuickBooks, Zelle, let me see, Venmo, Zelle, ACH.
one thing I
Yeah.
put in is for getting your employees paid. I think that was the other thing you shared, Mike, was how do you pay your employees or contract help? And one way is if you use payroll service, you can use like a debit card that you could charge that debit card. That way you don't have to rely upon them having a bank account. And it's just something you could fund. And then as long as they take the money out, there's no fee type of thing.
That's great,
Yeah.
Mike. Yeah, some of the folks don't use a lot of bank stuff, so having a card, you can just put their money on. That's an awesome idea for them.
Great
I would
idea.
point out that having if trust fund is an issue, I've had lots of contractors as clients who dipped into their trust funds, and then you have a constructive fraud issue. So as an attorney, I have a trust fund account, and there's programs set up to where somebody can put money into their trust fund that I hold, but the fees for that come out of my operating account. That way I'm not taking fees out of the money that goes into my trust fund account. That's really important as an attorney, and I've seen it happen time and time again with construction people who take money before it's earned. So just be careful with that one.
That's a great
Okay.
solution. Yeah. And then Cindy says a check, she has her bank send a check to the contractor. And Diane says PayPal now has a Zoom payment, and that's XOOM, Zoom payment plan, which doesn't have the high fees. Take a look at it. The app TransferWise, which can be paid via computer, has high fees. But so there's Zoom in here. PayPal Zoom can actually be done this way without the high fees as well. So there's all kinds of solutions in the chat box here. Megan, you want to capture all this and send these solutions to Mike? That would be awesome. This is great for all of us. This is a great bottleneck for all of us to move into the 21st century with some of our payments and some of our ways of doing things. So.
And I think that you're going to find that just being in senior living, I attended a conference way back at the beginning of this, and senior living is definitely saddled by that I have a check, I have to pay you type of thing.
Yeah.
And people really didn't accept electronic payments. So I really think that's one of the things that's going to come out of this time is enabling people to get electronic transfers in bridging some of the bottlenecks there.
Agree more. Well, thanks, Mike. This was an awesome, great bottleneck for all of us. We appreciate that. We learned a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Sandy, over to you.
So we have time for a second bottleneck? No, we don't.
I don't think so.
But be thinking about it, because every week we're looking for bottlenecks. And speaking of ways that you can be involved with us, we do have a website, risingphoenixbusinesscommunity.com, where you can get the current version of the Survival Guide, which is, we're in version 8, right, Chuck?
Yes, we are. And we got some new stuff coming out in version 9 here very quickly. They changed the whole process for how they're going to do the forgivables, and that'll change again this week. So we're going to wait until they change it twice.
Yeah, and you can, and so if you go there and sign up and put your email in, we're not going to sell you anything or spam you. You'll just always get the newest version of that as well.
Okay.
And you can also sign up to be featured if you have an inspiring story or someone that you know has a shift or pivot story, or you have a bottleneck, you can actually let us know ahead of time there.
Cool.
Just want to remind you that this Zoom show is sponsored by Crankset and 3 to 5 Club. We are in 3 to 5 clubs. There are many people on this call who are in 3 to 5s, and it's been a life-changing participation for us because it offers community, offers content. Mike's got his hand up, and great content, and huge connections for people. We've been friends with Tom Fanning, met him through 3 to 5, 10 years ago, and been wonderful to watch the transition in people's lives. So you can go to 325club.com. The two is, I'll say it again, 3to5club.com, and check it out.
And so Carrie Lindeman, raise your hand, because Carrie is launching 3 to 5 clubs in the Twin Cities. And so you can see Carrie on there. And we've got John Hayes on from Ireland. So we've got 3 to 5 clubs all over. Peter Brissett is one of our facilitators in Westminster. And so we have them all over the Denver area. And you can go to the 3 to 5 club website and look where we're located. And if you're like, I want this in my area, then please let us know so that we can talk to you about bringing 3 to 5 clubs to your city, state, area, or country. So, yeah. So time for some BFOs. This is the time where we get to hear what you got out of today. And we call BFOs blinding flash of the obvious, like I could have had a V8, or wow, I remembered something, or a light bulb went off. So you can put it in the chat box, but also it's fun to have you jump in and share those with us. From your audio. So yeah, what BFOs today?
My one was Relentless. What are we doing to push forward? That's a big one.
Thank you.
Bart said, what am I running toward?
Excellent.
Yeah, I like the little bit of time we had together in the breakout for the first time. I don't think we've done that before.
No.
That was great.
Thanks, Tom.
Peter said, make a plan, move forward.
Thanks,
Breakouts
Peter.
for fun. Goals. Somebody from their iPhone said, have some goals.
Tom, I liked your statement, honor the process of development, which I think also ties in with gradually and suddenly.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
And I'll tag on to that from our group. We reused the statement, planning doesn't create movement, movement creates the plan.
Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah, we talked about that in ours too, around the speed of execution and that we've got to get moving.
Eric.
Yeah, it was my first time. I liked the breakout. And then for me, I was just relentless. Yeah. Moving forward with what I got to do. So yeah, good encouragement.
Any last minute thoughts?
Somebody else, Christy said, am I just facing natural issues, or am I making the decisions to overcome? So am I working with stuff coming at me, or vice versa?
And people love the breakout that's going on in the chat room. Please spread the news of hope. And also need to do CPR after COVID, get moving, be relentless, and disrupt the status quo in my life. Thanks, Kim.
I'm just reminded today there's a lot of turmoil around our country, and we can either be part of it or we can be part of the solution. And the way I'm moved to be part of the solution is to be a hope giver and to walk in peace. And you can't fight darkness with darkness. So I invite you to join that bandwagon with me.
So one of the things that we always talk about is community. And one of the differences, I think, in our involvement with Chuck and Diane and the Crankset group over these 10 years that we've stayed involved, because we were in a 3 to 5 club for 3.5 years and have stayed involved in the community, is that piece, is the community piece. Because we can get content in other places, we can listen to great talks, we can read awesome books, but it's living it out in community with other people that makes it real, that we're able to apply it, that we're able to chat about it and dissect it. And so I've often heard Chuck say, we don't care where you get community. And I'm like, well, I kind of do. I'd rather have you with us. But the point is, we really need it. I know you all know that now than ever, is we need to look at being those people that pull other people in, pull our business communities in, do whatever we can to get our arms around one another so that we can figure this out together and we have the chance to create something more powerful, more abundant, more productive. And so, we want to encourage you to press in, be on this call, invite others to it. Visit a 3 to 5 club if that's of interest to you. We can do that virtually all over the world, wherever you are. Maybe you want to even start your own community of some sort. You know, maybe you're called to be the hope giver and someone to bring light and someone to bring good, vulnerable connection to others. And so, you know, we're not on this call just randomly. We connected because we're all, I think, looking for a piece of that. And I found a quote today that I wanted to share from Eleanor Roosevelt.
And Sandy, before you do that, I just want to make one more plug for people. Everybody in here probably knows, you know, 1 degree of separation from someone who's really done some great stuff in pivoting and adapting to the crisis and changing where they're coming from. Please, please, please bring them in here or nominate them here. Send us an email at grow@cranksetgroup.com. But think of people who would actually be an encouragement, like Mike and Tom were today, to others around the world on how they're going to do this stuff. And then make sure you join us next week with Tracy Fenton.
Yeah, Chuck, talk a little bit about that. I didn't mean to.
Tracy Fenton. Yeah, Tracy Fenton started World Blue, and World Blue is an organization that democratizes work. There's major corporations all around the world that have joined World Blue as democratized or democratic workplaces where it's a flatter structure. They're not worried so much about managers and that kind of stuff. It's about getting every voice heard and learning how to distribute the decision-making throughout the business. And she's a young, vital, just really, I mean, she just gives a big hug through the screen kind of person, extremely encouraging. Just exactly what we want here on Monday mornings. So invite your friends next week as well to, Tracy's going to give us some words of encouragement on things she's learned in regards to fear and how to participate better at work and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a very encouraging time.
Thanks, Chuck.
So we're going to leave you with this, which I think is especially appropriate right now. If life were predictable, it would cease to be life. And it would be without flavor. If life were predictable, it would cease to be life and be without flavor. And so here we are. We can take that perspective of really looking at how flavorful life is right now for all of us.
No kidding.
So thank you, everybody. I hope you all have a great week. And you'll be back next week.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Keep going.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.